Real talk, raw truth, raging hearts. Welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. Like, share, and subscribe. Hi, welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. I'm Heather.
And I'm Ashley.
How was your weekend?
With any mental illness, I feel like there are ups and downs, and within certain mental illnesses, you get several of them a day. It's been one of those weeks for me.
I was been very interesting. It is definitely an adjustment not being single.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think that it would be this much of an adjustment for me. But it definitely is. And I definitely brought it to my therapist and was like, hey, is this still healthy, or is this like I need help? And she was like, no, from everything so far, you're good. You're in a healthy spot. Just these are things to watch for. Like, and I'm like, all right. So I'm still healthy apparently, but I don't know that I always feel that healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely get that one. Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot of time right now, like really, like I haven't in a long time, like really checking in with myself and like asking myself, like, are you good? Like, what do you need? What do you actually need right now?
Yeah.
Which isn't always something we do. And then, asking like, what do I even enjoy anymore? And specifically in conjunction with a relationship, like, what do I even enjoy? Like,
Yeah.
I
That's
don't know.
difficult. Mm.
Yeah, it's definitely very surreal for me. I keep using that word a lot, surreal. And my therapist is laughing, and she's like, because I first I was saying weird, just weird. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
She's like, I need a different placeholder word than weird. And I'm like, okay, confusing. And she's like, all right, now let's get to the bottom of that. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's as good as mine.
I do definitely understand that, like, especially lately, I'm like confused. That's a good way to put it. And nothing pisses me off more in life than to be confused, honestly. Mhm.
Yeah, I can't say it makes me super happy. It's definitely kept my emotions in a guarded state where I'm like, I don't exactly know how I feel about this, and I think I'm trying to fight it not because it's not necessarily a good thing, but because it's outside my comfort zone, and so my automatic instinct is to rebel and to self sabotage and to push back in a way that will cause friction, and trying to like navigate that without doing that is interesting.
I bet. Mhm.
But it kind of brings us, to what we want to talk about this week. You know, a lot of people go through life changes. Some people long term being single, some people long term marriages. Um, Hell, some people could even just have psychiatric or prison time that keeps them away from the rest of the world, and that is really hard to like figure out who you are and where you belong in the world and how you fit um after a period like that. So today we're going to be talking about tips and tricks on how to find yourself when you've lost yourself.
Sounds like a good discussion.
I think those moments sneak up on a lot of people, especially once you hit a certain age or a certain stage of life, because eventually life stops asking you who you are and it just starts telling you what you need to be.
Yeah.
Like you become the one that handles things, the one who adapts, the one who gets through, and somewhere along the way you stop asking yourself, what do I want? What do I enjoy? Or who the fuck even am I? Not because you don't care, not because you're lazy, but because there was never space. Like, so today we're going to talk about it. And I want to be really clear right from the beginning. This episode is for anyone who has ever woken up and realized they don't quite recognize themselves anymore. Not in a dramatic identity crisis way, but in that quiet, unsettling way where you realize you've been living on autopilot for a very long time. This is definitely not an episode about being broken. This is an episode about being human and how it can take its toll and how we can pull ourselves out of that. Before moving into the next kind of little section, do you have any thoughts before we move forward?
Not just for our audience to keep an open mind about what we're saying and really help you, basically, like think about how what we're saying could apply to your life and how you could use it for your benefit.
And this is not just about divorce. Like I know that came up in there, and often people think when you're thinking long term identity loss, you think of marriage and divorce after a long term. But this isn't just about that because, like I pointed out, there's many examples of how people can end up in these places.
Yeah.
So let me slow it down for just a minute because when people hear a topic like this, they immediately assume we're strictly talking about, again, divorce, and we're not. It's really important that people don't pigeonhole the ideas that we talk about, even if we bring them up in a specific way, because especially when these mental health topic hits, it could be affecting any part of your life. And just because something is affecting you the way it affects somebody else through divorce doesn't mean you're not being affected by it.
Mhm.
So it's really important that people understand this is a bigger conversation than divorce. This is also about people who have been single for a very long time, people who have lived alone for decades, people whose lives narrowed not because they wanted to, but because circumstances required it, such as long term mental health, hospitalization, or halfway housing, prison, jail,
And
things
and
that alter.
And there's another
What?
big one, like new moms, especially new young moms, the complete transformation and loss of oneself and restructuring of who you are. It is so hard for many, many women to figure out who they still are other than somebody's mom.
Yep. It's about caretakers. It's about parents who pour everything into their kids. It's about people who were always the strong ones, the responsible ones, the ones who didn't get to fall apart. Because when you live that way long enough, your identity stops being about who you are and starts being about what you do. You become useful. You become reliable. You become needed. And none of those things are bad. But over time, they can quietly replace things like joy, curiosity, and desire. A lot of people reach a point where the kids are grown, the marriage is over, the house is too quiet, or the days are too repetitive, and suddenly there's space where noise used to be. And that space can feel terrifying. It can also feel lonely because when the roles fall away, you're left asking, okay, now what? Who am I if I'm not needed the same way anymore? Who am I if no one is depending on me? And for a lot of people, the answer at first is I don't fucking know. I have no fucking clue who I am,
And that's usually the
what I
very first
want,
step.
and it's the hardest. Like, what?
Yeah. And it's
And
hard
that
not just
doesn't
to
mean
go through, it's hard to recognize in yourself that it's going on.
well, that doesn't mean that something's wrong. It just means something's shifted. This is one of the most important parts of this entire conversation, and it's the part I really want people to hear without judging themselves. Feeling lost after decades of partnership, caretaking, or long-term isolation is normal.
Yeah.
Not dramatic normal. Not everyone feels this sometimes normal. Psychologically normal. Our brains are wired to adapt to whatever environment we live in the longest.
Mm-hmm.
If you spend years prioritizing a marriage, your identity slowly fuses with we. If you spend decades alone in survival mode, your identity contracts around routine and predictability. That's not a personality flaw. That's your nervous system doing its job. So when someone says, I don't know who I am anymore, what they're really saying is, my internal wiring hasn't caught up to my current life yet. And that gap can feel disorienting. It can feel like emptiness. It can feel like something is missing, even when nothing is obviously wrong. A lot of people interpret that feeling as failure. Like they did something wrong. Like they should have figured this out by now. But identity loss doesn't happen because you were weak. It happens because you adapted for a very long time. You adapted to partnership, you adapted to responsibility, you adapted to being needed, you adapted to being alone, and adaptation always comes at a cost. So if you're listening and thinking, I feel lost and I don't know why, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing at life. You are just in transition.
And transition is uncomfortable because if it wasn't, it would not produce change.
Yeah. And the part that everybody wants to ignore because grief feels heavy and uncomfortable and inconvenient. People want the solution, they want the fix, the reinvention. But you can't skip the grief part and
Yeah.
still expect to find yourself. When you lose an identity, even slowly, there is loss involved. And a loss needs to be acknowledged, not bulldozed over with positivity or productivity. You have to grieve the version of yourself that never got the space to exist.
Yeah. Hey, I for one, I remember my last breakup. You were the one that you're like, Ashley, you have to grieve it like a death. And I was like, excuse me? They're not dead. And they're like, yeah, but that version and that life and those hopes and dreams, they're they're dead and they're dying and you need to sit down and grieve. So you're like, I've seen you grieve a person before and that's very healthy. Grieve this like you grieve that. And it was probably some of the best advice I ever got for being able to process the end of something and move on.
It's funny too that I had that kind of insight when I was still very unhealthy myself
Yeah.
at that time.
Always so easy to see it in somebody else.
Yeah. They say that's the autism, but
Hey.
that's beside the point. That's beside the point. The hobbies you dropped because there wasn't time, the dreams you postponed because someone else needed you more, the person you thought you'd be at this age, that's a big one I do all the time.
Yeah.
And here's something people don't talk about enough. You can grieve something even if it was your choice.
That is a
You
hard
can
one.
grieve a marriage that ended. You can grieve a marriage that ended even if were relieved over it. You can grieve a life you built even if you're proud of what you survived. You can grieve years you spent alone even if you were doing the best you could. Grief doesn't mean you want it back. It means it mattered.
Yeah.
When people don't allow themselves to grieve, the loss doesn't disappear. it turns into numbness, resentment, or this low level sense of being disconnected from your own life. And that's why grief isn't the opposite of healing. Grief is part of healing. Naming what you lost doesn't trap you in the past. It actually frees you from fighting yourself in the present.
Very true.
Now, but then we say all that, but then where do we go from there? Like, and I think that this is where people kind of get like it sideways, where they hear getting your mojo back and they're like, "Oh, I guess I need this whole extreme makeover situation and redo my life and new me with a new haircut, new wardrobe, a dating profile, a whole new personality." And while those things can be fun, they're not where mojo actually comes from. That's not where Stella got her grooves. Mojo isn't about becoming someone new. It's about reconnecting with parts of yourself that went dormant. Confidence doesn't come from reinvention. It comes from familiarity. A lot of people trying to jump straight into who do I want to be now without ever thinking, who have I always been when no one was watching?
Yeah.
Like,
Your
what
core
kind of
self.
things do I like?
Mhm.
What kind of things have I always liked that other people maybe look down on that I kind of set aside for peer pressure or to make things more convenient or more easy for other people? Like, what things about myself have I set aside? And then look at those things and go, now I've got this list of things that I've set aside. Do any of them still feel like me? I think that's like one of the best places to start. Like what
Yeah.
things that you used to love do you still love that you just set aside because life didn't give you the time?
Yeah. I know I know for me personally, like the last 6 months I've finally been able to do the things I want and really look at my life and see what genuinely makes me happy and what I was just doing out of survival. And a lot of it has been going back to things in my childhood or when I was younger and before I cared what people thought or before I could not do them. And that's what's been bringing me the most confidence and the most happiness is going back to the person I wanted to be before I let things change me.
Yeah. I know so many people are like this last week I went into therapy and my therapist goes, "Did you lose weight?" And I almost said no out of habit. And then I was like, "Actually, I have." When I thought about it, I've lost like 15 pounds in the last 8 days or something like that. Um I had to weigh myself for to weigh a package, and I didn't even think about it when I weighed it how much less I'd weighed than I did at the most recent doctor's appointment. I was like, "Oh shit."
Mm.
Uh until she asked me. But people have been asking like on my social media like, "What are you doing because you appear to be getting healthier and healthier?" And I hadn't even noticed it, to be honest. But it's not because I'm trying to get healthier. I'm just trying to get healthier mentally.
Yeah. And honestly, that is such a big step for a lot of things, like within being happier, within being able to like get on your goals, lose weight. Like mental health has so much to do with every little nuance of your life.
Well, and taking the 2 weeks break from here because we had so much going on is really helpful. Dropping down to once every 2 weeks through March is going to be extremely helpful while I'm trying to sort through some other projects that I'm trying to do. Plus, having a new relationship adding to the mix, like on top of my already extremely busy life.
Yes.
Uh, it's it doesn't I mean, it's not taking away from anything, but like I really have to prioritize what is important to me. And sometimes that means at this stage for me, taking a step back, like on the podcast, going, okay, we're going to drop it down to, we're going to take 2 weeks off, and then we're going to go bi-weekly for a little bit. Those things I would have never done in the past. I would have just been like, nope, we're going to push through until the wheels fall off, and then the wheels would have fallen off.
Yeah. 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 I definitely do understand that, but that's where prioritizing mental health comes in. You being able to look at being like, I need this to function. I need to implement these things so my life isn't getting overwhelming and then it affects everything else.
Yeah. And it's not just like something that I'm like, oh, hey, this is only affecting my life. If my shit's going downhill, I'm gonna be dragging everybody else that's holding on with me down with me. Like you're just a flaming sinking ship at that point. But when you're taking care of yourself and really working on who you are and what you want out of life, uh, then it really, life turns itself around. It works itself out. I know it seems hard at times, and like, trust me, I was talking to a friend that's going through a breakup, and I'm like, you really need to just take the time to not be strong for anybody other than your babies, and work anytime you have a chance, because like strength is not in the not falling apart. Strength is in the falling the fuck apart, falling to pieces, laying there if you need to, crying, feeling like the world is falling apart for a week and like your soul is being ripped into shreds. Yeah, all of that is part of the healing process. And then you go, okay, it still hurts. Every fucking bit of it still hurts, and when it hurts, I'm going to cry. And I'm going to let it hurt.
Yeah.
But after that point, it's where you get up and you go, okay, we're not going to live in this state anymore. Not because it doesn't hurt, not because we're not grieving it still and letting it process. We're doing all of that, but because we're going to take little steps like, today we're going to take ourselves on a single date to go get a milkshake. I mean, it's going to cost me like $5-6, whatever, but like, it's just me and my milkshake and some quiet time. Those are important things to do for yourself when you're trying to rediscover who you are. Like walking outside to check the mail. If you're not feeling good enough to take a walk around the block, walking outside to check the mail and pausing for 3 minutes at the mailbox and just taking a look around at the sky, at the trees, listening to birds. Hell, listening to the fucking cars drive by.
Yes.
Just to give yourself a minute to reconnect and to like tell your nervous system and your vagus nerve that, hey, we're alive and we're okay in this moment.
Yeah. And there are
Maybe
so
even
many
hum a
ways.
little bit.
Yeah. And there's so many ways that you can go about that. Like Heather said, listening to your favorite music. Maybe you have a hobby that you used to love and you just couldn't do because it was too busy, slowly getting back into that. Then just being able to say, hey, you don't get to talk to me like that, or I will walk away and I will break contact. I am not going to let you make me suffer through my own life anymore. Like, that can bring so much peace right there. And it literally teaches your brain, hey, I am protecting me now.
And let's not forget that, when you're working on yourself, sometimes you need solitude. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is not the same as isolation. Isolation is hiding from the world. Solitude is taking a break to just breathe and recollect yourself, your internals, get your mind right. But even if you're scared of getting back out there, like do it. Going on that like I just said, the milkshake date, getting yourself out to public, not necessarily talking to anybody yet, just doing that first and getting yourself out there, getting used to being out in public without flinching when people look at you. Because anxiety is a bitch.
Oh, yes.
But just doing that. And then one day when you don't get anxiety going out, then start looking around for somebody that doesn't make your skin want to crawl. And when the first person that you see that doesn't make your skin crawl, walk up and say hello. You don't have to have a long conversation or try and date somebody or anything. Just, hi, nice to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
You look like a nice person. I thought I'd say hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple as that.
Honestly, I started using an old memory care trick when I was first starting to be like, I have to be in public, I have to be around people, and I would actually like to be nice to these people and like not hide in a corner. In memory care, they tell you to try and always keep a smile on your face, even if it's barely the corners of your mouth turned up, because it does something to is somebody's brain. It says friendly, this person's approachable, they might help me, they might whatever. And just that alone, even if I that helps with conversation, helps people feel like, hey, this person doesn't want to be left the fuck alone and like will bite you if you come too close. Like it's just one of those easy society things, even if you're just barely smiling, that helps you start to socialize more. Mm.
Yeah. And confidence doesn't come from reinvention, it comes from familiarity. A lot of people try to jump straight into who do I want to be now without ever asking, oh, I already said that, but sorry. Who have I always been when no one was watching? So instead of starting big, start small, almost boring small. Uh, when what music do you want to play when no one else is in the room?
Yeah,
What do you want to read when you're not trying to be productive?
yeah. A big one for me was, what do I want to my house to smell like when I walk in? What makes me feel relaxed and I am home and I am in my space now? Mm.
I definitely am a creature of smell comforts. Um, what makes time disappear for you, even briefly? Like, what makes you forget that the clock's even running because you're just existing? Those are not random preferences, they're breadcrumbs. And when you follow them, something interesting happens. You start to feel more present in your own life. Not louder, not flashier, just more there. Mojo is less about attraction and more about aliveness. It's about feeling connected to yourself again before you worry about connecting to anyone else. Because when you feel at home in yourself, everything else becomes optional instead of desperate. And like, I really want to be clear because a lot of people think reinventing themselves means finding somebody else. And while for most people that is the goal, not everyone is built that way. Once they're done with
Yeah.
whatever and they're moving on, they're not trying to find somebody else. They're trying to find permission to be themselves alone. And let me just say, if you're out there and you're one of those people looking for permission, here's your sign.
Go, be free.
Somebody else does not complete you. What was that?
I said, go, be free. Run away. Find you again. If that's what you need. Mm. Like, I personally spent years single and usually pretty damn happy about being single. But that was very much because I got everything that I was sucked out of me, and it took a long time for me to be like, oh, I do like painting again. Oh, yeah, I do like walking around at night as long as I have a weapon. Like, things like that. And it took me years to be like, now maybe I know myself again well enough to entertain the thought of somebody else. But it
Definitely
allowed me
feel
to get
that.
to know who I am again. Mm.
I am still struggling a little bit, like I said in the beginning, trying to figure out that new relationship balance. Um, Sometimes I'll be honest because I've been alone so long, I'm just not used to having another person around. and I don't even remember to think about somebody else. I'm like just doing my daily thing, and then I'm like, oh shit, you're still here. Oh fuck. Oh, all right.
Oh.
That's new. That's new. Okay. And then like, are you upset about it? No, no, I'm really not. I'm just
Adjusting.
still kind of confused. Yeah, I'm still kind of confused. This is new for me, and I'm still trying to figure out where that sits for me because it's new and it's out of my comfort zone, and it's been a very long time. Um, and I'm also not used to somebody doing so much for me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I do get that. Like, I recently had to have a discussion with somebody. I'm like, I don't think you understand. I am very used to being alone and not having to care about anybody's emotions except for, frankly, my best friends and my child's. And haven't for a couple years now, and it makes me very uncomfortable to be feeling certain feelings. He's like, cool, you told me. Good job. And I'm like, you're not even being patronizing, but you're saying words that should piss me off right now. But through years of therapy, I'm like, give me a moment to process once I calm down.
I feel that.
He's very
I
patient
feel
with
that.
me.
Uh, although you should have seen the look on my therapist when she's like, "Yeah, what's his name?" And I told her, and she's like, "What's he do?" And as soon as I said he was a fucking wildland firefighter, her eyes rolled so hard. I was like,
frankly,
"I know, I know."
frankly, mine did
I'm
too.
like,
The
I
second you
obviously
said it,
have
I
a
was like,
type.
should have fucking known. You gotta type, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's never a surprise.
I definitely, I'm learning that I definitely do have a type.
Yes.
It's very specific, no matter what the actual employment is. The gentlemen I'm into are very clearly in a very specific lane, and it's the outlaw vibe, like just straight up. If they look like trouble, sound like trouble, smell like trouble, I'm probably interested. There's something wrong with me, but apparently I'm healthy, so we're just gonna roll with it. And also, like, we all know me. As much as I talk a big game, I'm loyal as fuck. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's like I told my mom tonight because she kind of irks me. I was like, my therapist says I'm perfectly fine. And she just stopped and she's like, yeah? Yeah? How you liking this therapist? I'm like, that is not the point. She says I'm fine.
like you're like, listen, we're not sorting apples and oranges today. We're
Nope.
staying on topic.
The professional says I'm okay. So we're going with that today.
Never mind. I think this professional's a quack, but not today.
She's supporting my theory for today. So
I
oh,
definitely feel that.
tell me you have BPD without telling me you have BPD.
Right? Oh, jeez. Oh my goodness. The two of us sometimes. Anyways, this is where everything gently lands. Bringing the conversation back to the present moment, name the core takeaway without preaching it. Something like acknowledging that growth is rarely loud, healing is rarely linear, and clarity often shows up under the mess or after, Jesus, under,
I mean,
after the mess,
sometimes.
not before it. Um, I just, I really think that our audience has this innate ability to heal themselves if they take the time to really be present in their bodies, even if you're not ready to fully seek out therapy yet. or start the deep work process, like just the baby step process to find yourself and find your confidence of stepping out there. Like, if you're used to not leaving your house every day of the week, say you leave your house one day a month, start making it two. Even
And
if that second day is just walking around your block and coming back to home.
And if you're somebody that struggles with being in public, whatever, like, go out in your backyard, walk around there, take some laps, like, feed some birds, like, just get outside, get those vitamins, get your brain used to taking it that step further.
Yeah, if you are too afraid to go out in public, get yourself some bird feed, have it delivered or get it from the store. Go out in your backyard once a day, early in the morning when the sun's up. As soon as you earliest can get up when the sun's up, go out there, throw some bird feed in the yard, and then either pull up a chair or go inside with a window that's where the bird feed is, and just watch. Just watch what's happening.
Yeah. It's something
It's
outside
not
of
going to
yourself.
be Yeah, it's not going to be some amazing, spectacular fireworks thing. It's just going to be slow, random birds hopping down and pecking at the food and flittering off into the tree and back down. But it's what it is the moment to be present. It's a moment to notice how you feel, how the bird makes you feel, what I was saying was just, when you're watching birds peck at the stuff, it's not about the birds and it's not about the fact that it's small things. It's about the fact that you're being present in your body. You can notice how it makes you feel, the calmness, the steadiness, being present, noticing the small little details of the birds and how they eat and how their wings move as they hop around and flitter from the trees and back. But then the point is to make yourself go a little bit further each day. So if you start by watching them through the window, the next week, sit outside and watch them. The week after that, stand in the yard. Put the chair out in the yard next to where you fed them. The week after that, go to the front yard where you might encounter people and so on
It
and so
doesn't
forth.
have to be big, huge steps, just little ones that bring progress to your life.
Yeah. It's actually the little steps that make the biggest changes. It's never the extreme makeover that changes your life. What changes your life is by making one tiny adjustment. It's like adding one stitch to a seam a day, and at the end of the year having a whole dress. Like, it's the little things that matter. And
Very cool.
so while our audience is out there contemplating their future, or those that may be contemplating their lack thereof, I promise you have one. And I promise you it will be good as long as you are putting those tiny steps forward for yourself. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if anybody else understands it, and it doesn't matter if anybody else gets it. It's about you helping yourself be the best version of you. And if that means losing people in the process, I know it's painful. Grieve it. Again, like the loss it is. And your people will find you along the way. Yes, it may get lonely for a while. Anybody that denies the loneliness is lying to themselves.
Well, I would ask our audience to kind of look at Heather's and I's friendship. Though we did have friends and we had best friends before each other, we were very careful with our emotions and sheltered ourselves and guarded ourselves before we took the steps to become healthy and ended up becoming friends because we were on that journey of I don't want to be like this anymore. And I don't want to allow people to treat me like this anymore. We were not starting to not tolerate as much from others.
Yeah. And we made the intentional choice to start gleaning people from our lives, not because a lot of it wasn't painful, still painful,
Very
but
much.
because it was necessary.
We realized our
And
worth and demanded it from others.
and as is the case with this podcast, as it happens in real life, I need to wrap up this week early. I love all you guys. Please remember to rage responsibly. My mother's on her way to the hospital in an ambulance, so I need to go.
Have a good night, y'all.
We're also available on Spotify. We said what we said, and we're just getting started. Thanks for listening. Now go rage responsibly. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.